All right, welcome back. Today, we're diving into something that honestly sounds like it's straight out of a comic book. I'm talking about an officially licensed, all-electric Batmobile that you can actually go out and buy. Seriously. So let's get into how the Indian automaker Mahindra and Warner Bros. Are bringing a little piece of Gotham City right to our streets. So let's just think about this for a second. What happens when Batman needs an electric SUV? I mean, we all know the Tumbler, right? The classic Batmobile. But what if Bruce Wayne needed something a little more practical, something for the daily commute that kind of blends in just a little bit? Well, it turns out Mahindra, the Indian automaker, and Warner Bros. Have actually teamed up to answer that very question. And here it is. Say hello to the Mahindra BE 6 Batman Edition. And let's be super clear, this is not some fan project or a custom one-off. Nope, this is a limited run, fully official production car, and it's inspired by none other than Christopher Nolan's legendary Dark Knight trilogy.
And you gotta understand, this is way more than just slapping a logo on a car. No, this is a full-blown official partnership with Warner Bros. Pictures. The whole point was to create a genuine collector's item, something that really fuses that gritty, dark world of Gotham with the super sleek, modern feel of an EV.
Okay, so I know what you might be thinking. An Indian car company and Batman? It sounds kind of random, right? A bit of an odd couple. But trust me, if you look a little closer, you'll see there's a really smart strategy going on here. See, Mahindra actually has a history of taking inspiration from American culture. A few years back, they launched the Roxor, which was heavily inspired by the old Willys Jeep. Then, more recently, they teamed up with VW to build out a legit EV platform. And now, well, now they're working with another huge American icon, Batman. So when you look at it that way, it's a pretty natural next step, even if it is a little unexpected. And this quote from a Warner Bros. Exec really gets to the heart of it. They said, "Batman is more than a pop culture icon. He represents innovation, resilience, and an unyielding drive to push boundaries." So you see, for them, Batman isn't just a guy in a cape. He's a symbol of cutting-edge tech and sheer will. And really, in this day and age, what better way to capture that spirit than with a bold, high-tech EV? So, at the end of the day, this car isn't just about getting from point A to point B. The whole idea was to create a real statement piece for the fans. You know, something that gives you a little piece of that Batman thrill every single time you sit in the driver's seat. Okay, so let's get into the fun stuff. How exactly do you take a modern electric SUV and make it something that Bruce Wayne would actually drive? Let's break down all the specific tweaks and mods that really give this thing its Dark Knight vibe. First up, let's talk about the exterior. The best way to think about it is like the car's batsuit, right? It's got to be stealthy, it's got to be intimidating, but it also needs to have those little hints that there's some serious tech and power hiding just underneath the surface. And wow, the level of detail they went into here is pretty wild. We're talking a full custom satin black paint job. Then you've got these alchemy gold accents on the suspension and the brake calipers, which is a cool little nod to Bruce Wayne's fortune, right? Of course, there are Bat emblems all over the place on the hubcaps, the quarter panels, the bumpers. There's even a huge one on the roof. But honestly, my favorite detail? It's got to be the puddle lights that project the actual bat signal on the ground when you open the door. I mean, come on, that's just an awesome touch. All right, so if the outside of the car is the bat suit, then it only makes sense that the inside is the mobile bat cave. It's designed to feel like a super high-tech, really luxurious command center for whoever's driving. And the details just keep coming on the inside. So every single one of these cars gets its own numbered Batman Edition plaque right there on the dash. The upholstery is this mix of suede and leather with that same gold stitching. The bat emblem, it's embossed on the seats, and get this, even on the boost button. The main screen has a custom Batman welcome animation when you start it up, and they even created custom Batman-esque exterior sounds for the EV, since, it's silent. Okay, so it definitely looks the part, 100%. But what about the performance? How does it actually drive? Let's peek underneath the cow, so to speak, and check out the actual EV that this whole Gotham cruiser is built on. So this special edition is based on the top-of-the-line version of Mahindra's BE 6 model. What that means is you're getting a pretty beefy 79 kilowatt-hour battery pack. That battery powers a motor that's mounted in the rear, which gives it that classic fun-to-drive rear-wheel drive setup. And that battery gives it some seriously impressive range. We're talking 550 kilometers on the WLTP cycle. For those of us in the States, that's roughly 340 miles. That's really solid. And it's not slow either. It's got the power to back up the looks with 282 horsepower. And remember, since it's electric, you get all that torque instantly.
so it's going to feel quick off the line.
And of course, being a modern EV, it's absolutely packed with tech. It's got level 2 ADAS, which is basically the industry term for stuff like adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist. The whole cockpit is just loaded with screens. There's even a screen in the middle of the steering wheel hub, which makes it feel like the kind of high-tech gadget Batman would for sure have.
All right, the million-dollar question. Or, well, maybe not $1 million. What does it actually cost to own a piece of Gotham's finest tech? Let's talk money and, maybe more importantly, rarity.
Okay, so the starting price in India is 27.79 lakh rupees. Now, I know for a lot of us that number might not mean much, so let's put it in terms we're more familiar with. That works out to be roughly $27,500 US. Now, think about that. For a limited edition, officially licensed vehicle, with all these features and specs, that is an incredibly reasonable price. But there's always a catch, isn't there? And here it is. The catch is that they are only making 300 for the entire planet. That means this thing is going to be an ultra-rare collector's item the second it rolls off the line. So all of this leaves us with one final big question. Is this thing the ultimate collectible for a die-hard Batman fan who also happens to love cars? Or is it just a wild example of how far brand collaborations can go these days? You know, the answer you come up with might say less about how much you like Batman and a lot more about where car culture is headed.